Arsenal have won the title 3 times during the Premier League era: 1998, 2002 and 2004, but that number should really have been more than 3. Different factors have contributed to the team not getting across the line: poor performances, costly losses to rivals, bad referee decisions, goal droughts, injuries to key players, drop-offs in November and April, and quite a lot more. The 22-23 season will not be included in the 5 as the year is quite recent and the wounds are still yet to heal, but considering we were so close this season, for sure deserves an honorable mention. I mean, we spent 248 days at the top, so there's that as well. The 2022-23 campaign was different from most on the list because of the fact that no one expected Arsenal to be anywhere near the title, but despite that, Mikel Arteta's team almost achieved the impossible at the end of it. A flawless pre-season in which the Gunners trashed the likes of Sevilla and Chelsea boosted the mood ahead of the season, with new signings like Zinchenko and Jesus fitting into the system instantly. The return of Saliba was another major factor. Arsenal lost just 1 game in the first 21, but 2 wins out of 5 in February and 6 points from 15 in April ultimately cost the team. Oh, both months included a loss to Manchester City. Everything seemed to be going well. Saka and Odegaard both had 20+ contributions in terms of goals and assists. Martinelli had the best season of his young career. We finally beat Liverpool, finally won at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, did the double over them and the other team from London as well. We set a new record for the most London derby wins in a single season. Bounce back mentality and the fighting spirit saw us scoring big last minute winners against Bournemouth, Man United and Aston Villa. I really believed after that Nelson goal. He was not the only player to step up. The likes of Eddie Nketiah against Man United and Fabio Vieira against Brentford. The young team almost achieved the impossible. 26 wins, 84 points and 88 goals scored. Eventually, the treble winners emerged victorious. That is still fresh in our memories. So close but yet so far. But what if I told you we were closer even before this season? Title runs that turned out to be even more painful. Welcome to the first video in the fun facts in numbers. I say fun, but this particular episode is not that fun. By the way, if you have any recommendations or requests for this series, make sure to comment down below. Let's get to it. 2013-2014. Arsene Wenger made only one signing before the start of the season: Yaya Sanogo, on a free transfer. The reality of this signing not being enough hit home pretty quickly when you lost the first match at home to Aston Villa 3-1, and after that game, Arsenal sat in 18th. 2 derby wins followed, including a big one against Spurs, which calmed the place down. Fans were still frustrated with the lack of transfer business though. The club had something up their sleeve: a 42.5 million surprise on deadline day. The club record signing. The fans' excitement was through the roof, and that trickled down to the players. Ozil assisted 10 minutes into his debut, crossing the ball for Giroud. Just a few weeks after looking doomed, Arsenal were now top of the table after 5 wins in a row. Giroud has scored in 5 of the opening 6 matches. Ramsey was enjoying his best season in an Arsenal shirt, and things looked promising. A winless streak of 3 matches in December was disappointing, but he bounced back with 5 consecutive wins after that. Arsenal looked in good shape. A couple of reinforcements in January would potentially carry Arsenal to the title, especially considering Ramsey, one of the best players that campaign, had picked up an injury that would keep him out for 4 months. The only arrival that January? Kim Karlstrom. To make it worse, he was signed while having an injury that kept him out for 6 games. How did he even pass the medical? Things got worse when Ozil picked up a hamstring injury. With Ramsey and Ozil out, Arsenal struggled for creativity. Between the end of January and the start of April, Wenger's boys won just 3 out of 11 matches. The defense fell apart as well, conceding 21 goals in those 11 games. Heavy away defeats to title challengers and top 4 rivals became a trend. 6-3 loss away at Man City, a 5-1 thrashing away at Liverpool, a game where we were 4-0 down in the opening 20 minutes, 6-0 away at Chelsea, and 3-0 away at Everton. Despite losing just 1 home game all season, Arsenal finished 7 points behind eventual champions Manchester City. We managed to lift the FA Cup that season, but injuries, heavy losses to rivals, and a lack of investment in the squad ultimately cost the team. Speaking of lack of investments, that takes us nicely to the 2015-2016 season. After challenging for the title in the 13-14 season and winning the FA Cup back-to-back in 2014 and 2015, Arsenal were expected to make the next step. But the only signing of that summer transfer window was Petr Cech. Now, that wasn't enough, and just like in the 2013-2014 season, the Gunners suffered a home loss in the opening day this time to West Ham. But once again, we bounced back with 7 wins from 9, including a 5-2 away win at Leicester, immediately followed by a 3-0 home win against Manchester United. Ozil was remarkable. By December, the German had 16 assists already. The record was 20, so he pretty much had 5 months to get 5 assists. He didn't, but that wasn't his fault. By mid-January, Arsenal were top and were the bookies' favourites to win the league, with Leicester and Tottenham the only competition. Unfortunately, it all capitulated. Cazorla picked up an injury and Giroud went cold. Like literally cold. The French striker scored twice at Anfield in mid-January, but he failed to score until May. 15-game drought. Alexis Sanchez tried his best, but with the striker not firing, bad results followed. 0-0 draws against Stoke, Southampton, Sunderland, home losses against Swansea and Chelsea. Now I include Chelsea there because that season, Chelsea actually finished 10th, so it was a game that we were expected to win. There were 2 other standout results, a 4-0 demolition by Southampton on Boxing Day and a 3-2 loss at Old Trafford, where Rashford scored a brace. Oh, by the way, that was his Premier League debut, the first time ever playing in the Premier League game for Rashford. A lack of transfer business cost the team again. By the way, Karim Benzema was Arsenal's top target the whole summer. Imagine if he was in the team. Imagine if he was actually purchased. Who knows what would have happened. Leicester eventually finished 10 points ahead. That's the largest gap to first place in this video, which can only mean more pain ahead. 2002-2003, the season between our double winning campaign and our invincible season. So, what stopped us from making it 3 Premier League titles in a row? Let's find out. As mentioned, Arsene Wenger's men were defending champions, having finished 7 points ahead of runners-up Liverpool and 10 ahead of Man United in the previous year. Tony Adams and Lee Dixon retired before the season. Arsenal were in the midst of 2 good runs carried from the previous campaign, breaking 2 records in a 4-1 win against Leeds in September, 47 consecutive games without failing to score, having found the net in every single game in the 201-202 season, and 22 away games without defeat. Thierry Henry was untouchable this season, contributing 20+ goals and 20+ assists, and that was just in the league. The Gunners also retained the FA Cup, and it should really have been back-to-back league and cup doubles. Arsenal were top from November to April, and with just 7 games to go, we were obvious favourites to retain the championship. Unfortunately, we only won 3 of those 7 games. 3 of the teams we dropped points against ended up finishing 15th, 16th and 17th, and just to make it worse, in the draws against Aston Villa and Bolton, Arsenal led but scored own goals later on in both matches. That is tough. Man United eventually capitalized to finish 5 points clear. That was not the only time Sir Alex Ferguson's team took advantage of an Arsenal slip-up. They had done it again 4 years before that. Of course, this was the year United won the treble, but it should never have happened. Arsene Wenger's team were 1 penalty away from eliminating them from the FA Cup and just a single point from winning the Premier League. Let's focus on the league side of things. Arsenal started the season by beating rivals Man United 3-0 in the Charity Shield, but this form was not carried over to the league season. 4 draws from the opening 5 games put Arsenal in 9th. Despite this, Arsenal recorded another 3-0 win over United, this time in the league. The Gunners conceded just 17 goals all season, a record at the time, but at the same time, we scored just 59, a lot of 1-0 and 0-0 draws. By the middle of December, we were 6th with just 6 wins from 17 games. It didn't look good, but things were about to get better, way better in fact. Between Christmas and the middle of May, Arsenal went unbeaten, winning 15 and drawing 4. Throughout this unbeaten run, we could only rise to 3rd, as United and Chelsea were both enjoying terrific seasons. Man United didn't lose a match from December all the way to the end of the season, and Chelsea lost 3 all campaign. But, Both of them drew a couple of games in April, which allowed Arsenal to take over top spot. A big opportunity had opened up with only 4 games to go. All we needed to do was to beat Derby, Tottenham, Leeds and Aston Villa. On top of that, both rivals were in the semi-finals of European competitions and were surely splitting the focus. We won 1-0 against Derby and 3-1 against Spurs. With 2 matches to go, Arsenal and United were tied on 75 points. Arsenal would take to the pitch first in match week 37 with a chance to heap up the pressure on United. That didn't happen though. We didn't win. In fact, we didn't even draw. We lost 1-0 to Leeds, 86th minute winner from Hasselbank. The next day, United drew, which hurt even more because that would have seen Arsenal in pole position with a single game to go. We still had a chance on the final day though. We needed to win and hope United drew at least. They were playing against Tottenham. We basically had to depend on Spurs. Not a good idea, and I'm not sure they would have wanted to help Arsenal win a Premier League title anyway. Both Arsenal and Man United won, but it was too late for Arsenal. That Leeds defeat proving costly. And we've finally arrived at the season that broke Arsenal hearts, the 2007-2008 campaign. This was Arsenal's second season at the Emirates Stadium. In our debut year at the ground, we finished 4th, 21 points behind the eventual champions. A lot of room for improvement. Record goalscorer and club legend Thierry Henry left the club. Other greats like Ljungberg and Reyes departed too. New signings such as Eduardo had big shoes to fill. The start to the season was incredible. 8 wins and 2 draws from the first 10 games, including a huge 3-1 win at White Hart Lane. There was also late winning goals against Fulham, Manchester City and Sunderland, and a late equalizer at Anfield. The first defeat of the season came in December, away at Middlesbrough. More drought points in draws against Newcastle and Portsmouth during the festive period saw Arsenal drop down to second, but only for a week. We won 6 of our next 7, and by match week 26, almost everyone had us as favourites. That included the legend himself, Pele. During that period, in an interview, he was asked which team was his favourite, and he said Arsenal, the team he expected to win the Premier League title that year. But things fell apart from late February onwards, beginning with this infamous match away at Birmingham. Just 3 minutes into the game, defender Martin Taylor was sent off for a horrific tackle which broke Eduardo's leg. A quick brace by Walcott put Arsenal 2-1 ahead in the second half, but a loss of concentration by Clichy cost Arsenal in the 95th minute. The captain was in tears, the mood was down, and the mental scar from that game remained. Arsenal was still top after that match, but 1 win in 7 matches after that pretty much threw away the title. We led 1-0 at the Bridge but lost. Led 1-0 at Old Trafford but lost. Those are the 2 other title challenges. Despite an unbeaten home record, 3 losses all season, and the best points accumulation by a third place team in a 38-game season, it still wasn't meant to be. That was the season that broke Arsenal hearts. What could have been if Eduardo didn't pick up that injury?